Have you ever felt like authority and control were the enemy? Like the idea of someone else deciding for you was unbearable? What if I told you there's a tradition in AA that takes control out of anyone's hands and gives it to something far greater than us, a loving God? As I share this with you, please know I am not claiming membership of any fellowship and am not a spokesperson for any of them either. This is all personal experience with the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous and my own recovery journey. The second tradition states, for our group purpose, there is but one ultimate authority, a loving God as he may express himself in our group conscience. Our leaders are but trusted servants, they do not govern. What's fascinating is that this is the only tradition of the 12 that was expanded from its original long-form version, which first appeared in the AA Grapevine in 1946. The original version said, for our group purpose, there is but one ultimate authority, a loving God as he may express himself in our group conscience. Later, the addition of our leaders are but trusted servants, they do not govern, emphasized the importance of humility in leadership. Together, these words remind us that no single person is in control. Instead, group conscience, guided by a loving God, leads our decisions, ensuring unity and service. The second tradition emerged from the early struggles of AA, where egos often clashed. Imagine that, in a room full of drunks. Groups needed a way to make decisions without dominance or control, and this tradition ensures no one person can play God. It's about humility and trust. As AA grew, members realized that unity depended on giving control to something greater than ourselves. The second tradition teaches us how to listen, trust, and work together in harmony. Let's break the second tradition down. First, a loving God. This phrase can mean something different for everyone, and that's the beauty of it. It's not about one definition of God. It's about a higher power that embodies love and guides us towards unity and service of others. Next, group conscience. This isn't just a vote or a debate. It's about discussion, reflection, and seeking guidance from God. When we let go of our egos, we allow God to speak through the group and guide us toward helping those still struggling with this disease. Next, trusted servants, they do not govern. Our leaders aren't dictators. They're here to serve, not control. This reminds us to be humble, whether we're leading or participating. When I first came into recovery, I didn't struggle with the concept of God. My faith in Jesus as the way, the truth, and the life has always been foundational for me. What I did struggle with, though, was the idea that someone else might think they knew best, especially when I was convinced they were wrong and I knew best. The second tradition taught me humility in a way I hadn't experienced before. The democratic leadership under the guidance of a loving God challenged me to trust others and to let go of my need to be right. I've sat in group conscience decisions of 12-step groups where I was adamantly convinced of one direction, only for the group to decide differently. Tradition 2 reminds me that God's will is expressed through the group conscience, and it's not about me being right. It's about what's right for the group. Over time, I've learned to trust this process, even when I didn't agree, because I've seen how God works through it. One of the most profound lessons I've learned is that God truly speaks through everyone, if we let him. For over half my recovery, I've been sponsored by someone who isn't even a Christian. Yet, I've grown spiritually with him in ways I never could have with a Christian mentor alone. Maybe it's the unique desperation that connects one alcoholic or addict to another. Or maybe it's the one ultimate authority that we all know in our own way. Either way, I've come to see how God's guidance transcends our individual beliefs, uniting us in the common purpose of helping the next suffering alcoholic or addict. In my over 7 years of recovery, I've sponsored atheists, agnostics, Buddhists, and even those with New Age spiritual beliefs, along with a sprinkling of Christians along the way. Every single one of them had a spiritual experience through the steps that introduced them to this ultimate authority as they understand him. They trusted the process, worked the steps, and just like everyone else who does this, they connected with a higher power that guided them toward helping the next alcoholic or addict. This tradition taught me that God speaks through his kids, whether it's a sponsor, a group member, or someone we least expect. God's guidance comes when we are willing to listen. So, how do we put this into action? Number 1, listen with humility. The group conscience isn't about being right. It's about finding God's will through collective guidance. Number 2, let go of dominance. If you tend to take control, ask yourself, am I trusting the ultimate authority or am I trying to play God? Number 3, respect minority opinions. Humility means giving others a voice. Sometimes God's guidance comes from the minority. Number 4, serve without seeking credit. Whether you're making coffee or chairing a meeting, remember, you're a servant, not a ruler. The spiritual traditions of the second tradition embody unity, humility, trust, and love, with a spirit of rotation in leadership to ensure no one becomes too attached to their position. This tradition reminds us that relationships thrive when no one dominates and everyone has a voice. Whether it's in AA, at home, or at work, the principles of the second tradition can transform how we connect with others. And at the core of it all is the freedom to have our own spiritual experience. That's the beauty of the 12-step program. Whether you call it God, the universe, or something else, your higher power is there to guide you. The second tradition is a gift. It frees us from fear, ego, and control, inviting us to trust in something greater. Take a moment today to reflect. Are you trusting the group conscience? Are you listening for God's guidance through others? Remember, recovery isn't about control. It's about following God in service as you continue living recovered on purpose. If you want to watch the complete guide to all 12 traditions, you can click right here. Or if you want to go back and watch the whole guide for the 12 steps, you can click right here.